Hey y'all, welcome to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, fringe candidates, and generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
Man, that felt like my mouth was just running downhill and I'm just a dad trying to catch up to a stroller.
It was what I loved about it was like it's like those times where you trip and lose control of your phone.
Yep.
But then like you end up juggling the phone and kind of saving it. Like, yeah, like I meant to do that.
Exactly. I work for a vaudeville production. Clearly this was practice.
Indeed.
Oh man. Good start. Good start. So, we've been talking about some really deep and dark topics for the past month, culminating in having to talk about literal Nazis 2 weeks ago.
When aren't we?
Yeah. But due to that, I think it's time to be very serious about covering a nice and relaxing topic for the week.
You know how this always goes, Dusty.
Oh, no, I actually worked on this. I made 100% sure that this would be as stress-free as possible.
Wow.
However, it does have to start out somewhat dark.
Oh, there it is.
But first, I do have to ask something for the sake of clarity, for to see if we have any sort of biases going in. Una, are you related to someone named Hank O'Leary Roberts?
Definitely not.
Okay, great. So we are in the clear on this.
Yeah, zero Hanks in the fam.
Right. And so I was very excited to find an O'Leary that we could talk about.
Yeah.
And so, as I said, things are often darkest before the dawn. And for Hank, this is no different. But his childhood was extraordinarily dark. So Hank was born in the DC suburbs of Virginia in 2001. However, when he was born, his mother wasn't housed at the time. For the first 5 weeks of his life, he and his brothers and sisters would live on the streets of the DC metro area. Hank would note that his mother did her best, but even she couldn't stop what nearly was the end of his entire family's life. Because when Hank was 5 weeks old, his entire family was captured.
Oh my God.
So Hank thankfully held no memory of this time, but was made aware that ultimately his family was going to be killed in this situation. That is, until a nonprofit organization swooped in and rescued Hank and his entire family. However, he would not be able to stay with his mother and his siblings just due to how the system worked out, but he would often say that even though they had to be split up, his mother knew that it would be for the best, that they would all be taken care of. And in the end, he would be adopted by partners Matthew O'Leary and Anthony Roberts of Springfield, Virginia. Now, would you like to see a picture of Hank shortly after his adoption? Because it is an adorable picture.
Yes, I would, please.
All right.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
That is.
Damn it, Dusty.
Yep. Hank is a cat, more specifically a Maine Coon. The picture, which I will link to it, it's just an adorable little Hank showing his belly and just looking giddy as hell.
Kitten.
Yeah, and so look, I was being a little dramatic, but it doesn't really change Hank's story at all. Hank was born to a feral mother on the streets of Springfield, Virginia, which are the northern Virginia burbs of DC. And they were taken in by a shelter, but it was a kill shelter, and they were there long enough that they were kind of at the end of the list, that in order for them to bring in more cats, they'd have to kill off a number of cats that were already there for too long. However, an organization called Animal Allies, which is a cat-focused rescue group that still exists today, swooped in and took the whole family in. I would also like to note they have the most adorable kittens I've ever goddamn seen. So if you live in the DC metro area, maybe check out animalalliesva.org. As of right now, they have a pair of kittens named Guillermo and Nandor.
Stop.
They are so fucking cute. As for Hank, he did get adopted into a very amazing home. So his one dad, Matthew, worked as a graphic designer, and his other dad, Anthony, worked in web programming. He also got a new big brother named Sammy and a big sister named Lily. For the first 10 years of his life, Hank lived the life of a very spoiled cat. In the family, Lily would be the first to gain a bit of local celebrity because Matthew and Anthony became friends with people at Animal Allies, and Lily started to write an animal advice column for them. It was like not just about cats. It was like, I don't know what to feed rabbits, or my dog's acting weird. What do I do? Supposedly that was written by Anthony, but we all know that Lily was the one behind it. So at the age of 10, after years of lounging and resting, Hank should have been all set for retirement of relaxing and snoozing. But Hank was ready to spend his golden years making a difference for the state of Virginia. In 2011, with the help of Matthew, Hank decided to enter the state Senate race for Virginia's 37th district. Seeing as Hank was a political newcomer, this campaign wasn't exactly the most professional. He lacked a platform, a ground team, any real method of informing people of his campaign aside from, talking to his dad's friends. And not much really exists about this particular campaign, with the exception of kind of a Reddit AMA. So Reddit user Musically Awkward made an AMA request on the subreddit for, quote, Hank the Cat's campaign managers Anthony Roberts and Matthew O'Leary. They listed a set of questions just in case Matthew or Anthony saw the post. And in the end, no one upvoted it, and it only got one reply from Matthew O'Leary himself.
Hey!
So in this impromptu AMA, Matthew would reveal that technically, Hank's campaign started in 2004. I took the image of Hank looking up and to the right, and Anthony Roberts, my partner, who is also a photographer, likes to mess around with some photos in Photoshop. So he created the Hank for Senate sign all the way back then, but just because of the look Hank had on his face. Very senatorial. And I'm going to send you a picture.
Oh yeah, that's great.
It's really, really good. As like an early 2004 Photoshop goof, it's very good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cat's looking up, very serious, very floofy.
Yeah, he's going to floof for Senate, and it's going to be okay. Quote, in 2011, our county was overrun with signs along the road for so many candidates for state Senate, and we were pretty stressed. So we thought we'd blow off some steam by creating some Hank for Senate yard signs and stick them out on the road, tell a few people about it, etc. Anthony is a web programmer by day, so he created a website, and we put up a Facebook and Twitter site, and we just kind of let it go. We do know that Hank lost very bad, but he was able to get 9 write-in votes.
Oh my goodness. For each of his lives. They all
my God, fuck off. One of the votes was from Matthew. Anthony did not vote for Hank. He voted for the incumbent Democrat Dave Marsden, who's still the state rep to this day. But it's really shitty of you, Anthony. You really should have written in
Damn
Hank.
it, Anthony.
What kind of father are you? It would have made sense if this is just like a one-off excuse to put a 7-year-old Photoshop into use. But if that was Hank's only campaign, we would not be talking about him because we'd be done. Hank was poised for something bigger, and it was decided that Hank would run for office again. However, if he ran for state senate, he'd have to wait until at least 2015. He could run for the state House of Delegates, but that would require retiring the Hank for Senate signs that they had already made, and Kinko's is expensive, so why would you do that? Lucky for Hank, 2012 was an election year for one of Virginia's U.S. Senate seats.
Moving on up.
It makes sense. You don't want to spend the money, and it's just there. So the 2012 Virginia Senate race was, thanks to the 2006 Senate race, very fucking weird. In 2006, Secretary of the Navy and brand new Democrat Jim Webb squeaked into a very close win. While this does accurately allude that the race was hard fought, it hides the fact that both Jim Webb and his Republican challenger and incumbent George Allen were ridiculously flawed people. Both parties succeeded in having the worst candidates who could have possibly run.
Good job, Virginia.
So on paper, Jim Webb is one of those like squishy centrists that's a real big win for a purple state if you're at the Democratic Party. He'd served in Vietnam with the Marines. In 1968, during a search and destroy mission, he and his platoon came upon a bunker complex. They attacked and successfully destroyed the bunker. However, during the attack, a grenade would land right next to Webb. He responded by shooting the guy that threw the grenade, pushing a Marine out of the way of the grenade's blast radius, and acted as a human shield for said Marine. The grenade exploded, and fragments from the grenade struck Webb. But based on the report, the injury sounded more painful than life-threatening. This, along with a mission 2 months prior where he ran into open enemy fire just to save multiple wounded Marines, resulted in him receiving the Navy Cross, the Silver Star, 2 Bronze Stars, and 2 Purple Hearts.
Damn, yeah.
So yeah, on just that alone should be enough to be like, yes, you should run for office. No one's gonna say shit.
Right. Commercial made, print and run.
Right. However, prior to that, he was appointed to Secretary of the Navy under President Ronald Reagan in 1987. This appointment was short-lived due to Reagan requesting a reduction in the size of the Navy, and Webb insisting that they increase the total number of ships to 600.
And Reagan was like, oh, I'll put ships, all right, but in space.
Proto Space Force, yes.
Yes.
Um,
Space Wars.
So Reagan had previously supported the plan to increase the Navy to 600 ships throughout the 80s. It was kind of a big Republican talking point. But after talking to Gorbachev for a while and realizing the Cold War was really going to come to an end pretty soon, it was kind of decided the Navy didn't need 600 ships. And the wild thing is that the Navy was only 20 ships short of hitting 600 when Webb was named secretary.
Oh, so close.
I know. And so all it took was those 20 ships for Reagan and Jim Webb to completely fall out. When Jim Webb resigned slash, quit, fired, Ronald Reagan wrote in his journal, "I doubt anyone in the Navy is going to miss him."
Damn.
Yeah, that is a moment of lucidity during peak Alzheimer's to write that shit down. To hate a man so bad that Alzheimer's can't make you forget, that is fucking impressive.
I think it speaks more to the fact that pettiness will always outlive a sundown moment.
Oh my God.
That's
Sundown
certainly
moments are
what's
kind
going to
of
be
made
my
for
truth.
petty things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And before anyone gets mad, my grandmother on my mom's side had Alzheimer's. Very familiar with how it works. So
Yep.
yeah.
It's definitely in my family.
Yeah. So after like barely a year as Secretary of the Navy, Jim Webb was out. So after this, Webb would pivot to being an anti-war centrist. He came out against Operation Desert Storm in 1990 and was vehemently against the Iraq War in 2003. Now, it should be noted, Webb isn't anti-every war. In an interview with Meet the Press in 2006, he stated that he still found the Vietnam War justified.
Oh my God. That's the Marine in him still talking.
Yeah, it's like, I get it. You were there, but also like there's enough about the Gulf of Tonkin incident to know that we started it on terror on like a hope and a whim. We were just looking for a reason.
I don't know. Because and this is a difference too, I think, between guys who are drafted and guys who are Marines. Like you see it in the PBS documentary, like as they're interviewing veterans, where like the Marines are all like, I was going in with a purpose. We were there to kill and support America. And all the Army guys were like, this was fucked from the start.
Yeah. And Jim Webb would go on to say that, I don't agree with the way the war was waged, but I'm still one of the few who can justify it. And it's just like,
no, you can't. Those two sentences can't act together then.
Right.
Jim.
Also, we know it was started on a bad premise. All right, soapbox time. All right. So Cold War, we were really good at fighting proxy wars. Dare I say it, Ho Chi Minh was one of the few people to go about a revolution in the best way possible from the jump. He was at the Treaty of Versailles saying, hey, we helped you guys win World War II. Maybe we can have an independent country now. And then responded by invading.
One of his heroes was George Washington.
And he did not want to fight a fucking war.
And to just like really grind salt in the wound, even a cursory look of Vietnamese history shows they hated the Chinese because the Chinese kept like occupying their land.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
It's so fucked up.
It's buck wild. And to just be like, I don't know how you could justify the French still being there, let alone justifying America getting tagged in at the last second. It's fucking nonsense. And this might make you think, oh, that makes Jim Webb a hypocrite. Yes, and then it gets worse. In 2006, Jim Webb was encouraged into the Senate race due to a campaign started by liberal Virginia politics blog Raising Cain. And the Cain is spelled Kaine because it was a Tim Kaine fan site. It got really big.
Oh boy.
It's nice to know resist libs had shit to do in the mid-aughts, that they weren't just making really cringy Donald Trump memes. So yeah, Raising Cain, yuck, ends up convincing Jim Webb to run in this race. And he would face a tight primary against tech entrepreneur Harris Miller. Harris Miller had a really interesting life. He doesn't have a Wikipedia entry. It seems like he mostly was like he worked for a tech nonprofit sort of group, but when they aligned with another larger group, he resigned and then made his life purpose trying to get free college for people.
Okay.
To make that a universal thing. He seemed like a pretty decent dude. But Jim was very much a centrist. But his big pull is that he openly hated George W. Bush, which for the time,
Honestly,
plenty bold, as some would say.
very bold. Not enough people were doing that.
So he would face Republican and incumbent Senator George Allen, a man that Webb had endorsed back in 2000 when Webb was still kind of a Republican.
Mm.
It seems like most of his endorsements were based on, did you fight in Vietnam? If yes, endorsement. If no, are you a Republican? And if yes, endorsement. So he switched to being
The
a
hell
Democrat
of a
just for
flow
this.
chart.
Yeah, it's not great.
And then they ask why there aren't more millennials in politics.
God, we're just sad. Let us be. Are we allowed to cry in Congress? If yes, then sure, we'll run.
Oh my God, we're not. And that's why we can't go.
It's if I could just openly weep in front of Jim Jordan and make him uncomfortable, that would be choice victory right there. I'd be able to resign.
If I could just line up my necessary medications, which includes SSRIs.
Yes. Oh my God.
In front of the button that I hit to vote.
Oh my God. For my 5 minutes, I'm just going to play the entirety of Screaming Infidelities by Dashboard Confessional. Yes, it will be done before 5 minutes. And yes, it is on repeat.
Yeah. I would start my filibuster with, as I was saying to my therapist.
My God. All right. Millennials would be incredible at filibustering if that's how we could do it. Let me tell you about my first therapist, the one who I was a therapist for. Anyway, so that's kind of how Jim Webb goes about endorsing people. But the most interesting thing about this race between Jim Webb and George Allen is that the wiki page for this race, there's a separate link to a page titled Controversies of the 2006 U.S. Senate election in Virginia. And it is a couple scrolls long. Like, I think it was like 5 scrolls on the mouse wheel to get to the end.
Oh boy.
So some of them are, they're like throwaway controversies that really don't mean much, but there are definitely some in here that are, what's the word? Fucked. Really fucked. So let's start with Jim Webb.
Yeah.
He had an ad early on featuring a video of Ronald Reagan praising him, which happened. Like in 1987, Ronald Reagan made him Secretary of the Navy, and you kind of have to do a little speech on why your person's good so that the Senate will get him in. That in of itself wasn't the problem. The problem was they definitely weren't friends within a year. And the Reagan Presidential Foundation, on behalf of Nancy Reagan, wrote a letter to they sent a fax to Webb asking him to stop the ad.
Oh, I mean, she'll burn and salt the earth for Ronnie. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But wait, why? So Jim Webb is like using this old reference. I mean, he's basically me whenever I put together a resume, but he shouldn't do that.
Yeah. He was gathering all of his letters of recommendation, no matter how old they were, putting them on some bright new paper and sending it in. And the Reagan Library was like, hey, so the typical process for this is people write us to ask, hey, can we use this? And we'll say yes or no. His response was, well, Reagan said it, so I'm going to use it. And if George Allen can find any audio of Reagan praising him, he's more than welcome to use it too.
Honestly, I mean, mostly because it's Reagan. I'm just like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, and it's like you're running a centrist campaign and trying to woo some Republicans. I see what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like the fact that like you would still be a Republican if it wasn't for George W. Bush making one decision you didn't like, even though it was a very big decision. But so that was one small thing. One that you might find more issue with. He wrote an article in 1979 and was published by the Washingtonian, was unearthed during the campaign. It had been written by Webb and was titled "Women Can't Fight."
Good Lord.
Just, straight into the point. Not a flowery beginning. Is like, in my opinion, women should not be in the armed forces. No, it's women can't fight. Here's my screed. Publish it. I'm a war hero. In the article, he stated he had never met a woman he could trust to lead a group of men in battle.
Say that again?
He had never met a woman in his life that he would trust to lead a group of men into battle.
I'm sure all of his exes were reading that being like, I got the fuck out.
Well, I mean, and the first thing I thought was like Boudica. I don't know, maybe like one of the greatest war heroes ever. There's, I looked at Wikipedia. I didn't pull these names off the top of my head. Rudrama Devi, known as one of the greatest fucking warlords in India. There's Al-Kahina, who is a queen who won multiple huge decisive battles that she was expected to lose. History is full of women. Joan of fucking Arc.
Yeah.
History is full of women who led men into battle successfully.
Like I always think I'm just like, I don't know if it's good enough for the Israelis, like
Dark. But
dark,
yeah,
but like, hey, they
point's still there. War's war, and it's always fucking horrible.
yeah, I hear that and I'm just, it's just like, first of all, like, woof, again, that Marine mindset, man.
Yeah.
That, like, it's not semper female, it's semper
Oh my
fi.
god. I'm just picturing Tammy Duckworth rolling
Oh
up to
my
him and
god.
just like slamming objects into his balls.
Just being like, say it to my face.
Right? Fucking right. Gets worse though. Gets worse.
Oh boy.
Jim also said that women in the military, specifically the Navy, would be, quote, a horny woman's dream due to the ratio of men being 13 to 1. Now, Una, I know how much all women love being surrounded by 13 men. They love it.
Ah.
And look, I might as well say this. Look, even porn tops out at 8. It's like you, and granted, that's probably more of like a, filming the scene sort of an issue. You don't want too many people on set or it gets weird or you have to like pay for music. But still, it's
Well, yeah, everyone's got a day rate.
right. You got to pay fluffers, man. It's
It
everyone's
adds
volunteering
up.
for work. And so just wild bullshit, especially when, you take into account sexual assault in the military against women.
Yes.
Being
Yeah,
rampant.
yeah, because they all have like this Jim Webb mindset built into the system from the get-go.
Yeah, and I'm sure Jim Webb would be like, I'd be perfectly fine if it was 13 women to one guy. And it's just like picturing this Navy harem instead of 13 women who do not want to talk to him.
Right.
13 women who are always busy.
Who are competent and really just want to do their job.
Jim, I'm sorry, there's a war.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah. It's like, dude, you were in a war to begin with. How are you assuming everything is Top Gun now?
Look, you just play beach volleyball and the women, they come running. It's just how it works.
You play the most sexually charged game of volleyball with your boys. And there's a woman with a perm somewhere off camera.
Yeah, in the Marines it's Semper Fi, in the Navy it's come and get 'em, I guess. Ooga, as the boat says when you hit the horn. I know about boats. It's fine.
Yeah. No, we'd be fine if we were both drafted tomorrow.
Yeah, the Navy would not repeatedly kick our asses.
We just show up again being like, can I bring my SSRIs?
I heard the boat go Auga. Am I allowed? Why am I in the ocean under a rock? Oh no.
Oh.
So you might hope that Jim maybe evolved since 1979 on his opinion of women serving. But in 2000, he would speak against the Virginia Military Institute accepting female cadets into their ranks. In 1997, they accepted 30 female cadets. VMI is kind of like, for people who aren't aware, it's sort of like a military college. To my knowledge, it's more of like an ROTC sort of thing instead of being directly in the military.
So then is it comparable to West Point or kind of?
No. So
Okay.
West Point is a military-run school where once you graduate there, from my knowledge, you have like officer training. So you go into the military at a certain rank with the knowledge you've gained. Schools like the Virginia Military Institute or the Citadel are run or schools that are run sort of like military schools for in high school, I guess you could say.
Oh,
That sort of
okay.
where you do get that military knowledge, and if you choose to go into the armed forces, that will probably benefit you, but you're not required to immediately do that.
Wait, but are these also the schools that started getting a bad rap in the 80s and 90s? Because it was always this sense of like, oh, that's where you sent, like, where rich parents sent their really problematic children.
I mean, probably for at least the high school military schools. Yeah, I think for the rich parents who have troubled kids, you probably send them to Penn or Dartmouth. I don't know, Stanford if you're desperate.
Just ship them off to the Wharton School.
Yeah, pretty much. So hopefully I'm right on that. But so he would state that they should not be accepting female cadets because, quote, women should not be in foxholes, and the purpose of the armed services is not to be a social experiment.
I feel like, who was it that Truman integrated the army? And I feel like he might disagree.
Yeah, History is full of women who have fought wars valiantly, some disguising themselves as dudes so they could do it. There is a long history of women doing this shit, and maybe we shouldn't have a fucking issue with it. But
Yeah, I agree from especially from the standpoint that like if we're going to war, we should be required to have a draft and it should include men and women because no one should have to escape, which makes the decision that much harder. That is the whole fucking point. Like it really has to matter.
great example of at least someone I could bring up even further why you should probably have women. Are you familiar with the name Ludmila Pavlichenko?
Sounds familiar.
In World War II, she was one of the most decorated snipers of the Soviet army.
Oh yeah.
She had a total of 309 kills and survived the fucking war.
Yeah.
It's when that is in your fucking history, when that is so easy to bring up, it's like, yeah, no, maybe we should have more women because who knows what Ludmilla is missing. I'm not advocating for war, but if you're gonna do it, at least don't be a misogynist about it.
You're losing out on so much. I mean, the I think the Algerian Civil War, like it took the French a while to catch on to the fact that a lot of the women were actually guerrilla soldiers because they wouldn't think twice as they were like moving between boundary checks.
Yeah, so it's bad enough that he has this weirdly specific misogyny going on. But then it gets worse because after serving in the Vietnam War and before he becomes Secretary of the Navy, Jim decides he's going to be a novelist and mostly writes about Vietnam War fiction.
Wow, this
Yeah.
this guy is living up to his generation standards.
Yeah, he's writing all the books your awful grandfather read. So in his first book, Fields of Fire, he took quite a lot of liberty in let me just say Tarantinoing all over the place.
Oof.
Using slurs for both Latino men and the one that has the hard R. Just
No.
everywhere. And to back this up, it wasn't just the language of a racist character. The Allen campaign found a friend of Webb's that claimed that when Jim and his friends were in the ROTC at USC, this group would drive into the predominantly black LA neighborhood of Watts, point fake rifles at people there, yell slurs, pull the trigger, and when people freaked out, they would laugh and drive off.
Oh, so he's a psychopath.
Potentially. Now, Webb would deny this, claiming that if anyone did that in the 1960s in Watts, you would not leave alive. You would be killed on sight if you did that.
Bullshit.
Right. People still fear for their lives. Not everyone in Watts has a gun to shoot back at you. And even if they did, wouldn't be surprised if it's the LAPD doing a whole cop gang just to cause someone to shoot at you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of amazing that his response to being a racist, it's also a racist response, but different. Somehow acceptable in a centrist world. But finally, there's the other weird quotes from Jim's books. And I hate to say this, the main source that uncovered this is the Drudge Report, which got really
Deep
famous
cut.
in the Clinton years.
Oh, yeah.
The Drudge Report is very, very, very far right, but they are at least a little further left of Alex Jones because they got in a fight.
Are they still around even?
Yeah, the Drudge Report's still around.
Wow. I so associate them with like the early aughts and nothing else.
Yeah, Matt Drudge is still going. I mean, we lose the original Harley Quinn, but Matt Drudge still pumping it out. But yeah, so the Drudge Report went through all of Jim's fiction books. And, I think I do have a bit of bias as a playwright where, people could definitely pull quotes from my work. And on its own, some of it might sound really weird. So you have to have the context for a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I will say some of Jim Webb's stuff, even with context, is really fucking weird.
I feel like that's the difference between possibly a good writer and a bad writer. But I also have to hear so much obnoxious discourse over Lolita. It's like you're all missing the fucking point.
Yeah. I love that book, but my God, do so many people miss the fucking point. There are definitely a lot of moments in the books where the only female characters are sex workers. And where like there's a moment of like child sexual abuse that's written in a very weird way, but without the context, I really can't go beyond that.
Yeah.
So the one quote I'm actually going to take comes from a book, Something to Die For. And for me, it completely stole the show. And I want to get your opinion on this. Fogarty watched a naked young stripper do the splits over a banana. She stood back up, her face smiling proudly and her round breasts glistening from a spotlight at the dim bar, and left the banana on the bar, cut in 4 equal sections by the muscles of her vagina.
How no.
I mean, I think we can take this one by one. I mean, if you would love to name the first thing wrong with this sentence, other than some of the syntaxes, like that's all one sentence, which you shouldn't do.
No.
You shouldn't do that.
I mean, it's been so long since I've been anywhere near like a clearly white male author describes like her breasts bounce breastily.
Most breastistly. It's like, yeah, like she stood back up, her face smiling proudly, and then her breasts are glistening. Those are like those verbs don't match. That's not like you can't go from like lips to boob unless I mean I'm glad he goes in one direction. It's not like her lips were smiling, her forehead furrowed, her breasts did a jig. At least it's not like that whiplash, but
But mostly like I don't care what ping pong act you saw on R&R, Jim. There's no Kegel muscle that can cut a banana in 4 parts.
4 equal sections. I would like to add bananas don't work that way.
No, exactly.
Like you have no idea how vaginas or bananas work. It's wild, and I'm so glad the Drudge Report found this because this alone should be
this is journalism. Yes.
Yeah. Like Matthew Drudge, you have found the reason Jim Webb should not be a senator, and it's this: he should not be allowed to write bills on fruit or about women.
Yeah. Matters of healthcare are going to come up before him.
Jim, we need you to decide on potassium and its effects on the vagina. Well, I have some opinions, sir. Makes it stronger and, weirdly enough, good at measuring.
Like, does he think the outer vulva folds are actually a knife? How does this work?
Oh, it's a vagina dentata. You know, the only thing that could have made this worse is if he said it was in 3 equal sections, because that's mathematically impossible to do. That would have stolen the show. It would have won that award for the worst description of sex that they give out every year.
Yes.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this was the inspiration for it. It's just wild. Now, all of that should be enough to sink a campaign. But George Allen brought his own issues to the party, and most of which focused in on him being very racist, and also not quite racist enough. Schrodinger's racism.
Magic Virginia.
You might remember this when it happened. So on August 11th, during a speech on the Kentucky border, George Allen would notice a 20-year-old by the name of S.R. Siddharth, a staffer on the Webb campaign who was working as a tracker. Now, typically what a tracker does is they're typically going to be interns or much younger people who just follow your opponent around and clandestinely film them at speaking events, just waiting for them to slip up or say something dumb. It's pretty much expected on campaigns. You should know that they're going to be there. So people getting mad about that is really kind of a sign of ill temperament, dare I say. So SR is there. He's, filming George Allen giving this speech. And in the middle of his speech, George Allen notices Siddharth in the audience. Now, SR notes that he is the only non-white person in this crowd of a few hundred people on the Kentucky border. And so when Allen stops his speech, he looks at SR and he uses a slur that is Portuguese for monkey.
Whoa, what?
Yeah. And so he used this Portuguese slur referring to Siddharth as that being his last name. They're not even close. It also should be noted that a lot of people were estimating or trying to figure out how he, because Portuguese isn't a very slur-heavy language in America.
Right.
But the connection they found is that George's mother was Spanish French, but also from North Africa. So she was kind of part of that colonizing group in Morocco. And so this particular slur was used by the French in that area as well. So they think he probably heard it from her. And that's
sure.
Yeah, and that's how it became common parlance for him. So he refers like, hey, he's over there. Everyone be sure to welcome him to America.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And since this was SR's job, he immediately went back to the Webb campaign and is like, I had a horrible day. Also something for you.
Yeah. It's like, great. I got it. I'm also a little worried for my life right now. Can I go now?
3 weeks.
Yeah.
So when Allen was confronted by this, he claimed that he would never use a slur to describe someone, and that the campaign was actually using it as a sort of portmanteau because SR had a haircut that was, short on the sides but tall in the middle, which nowadays we would mostly recognize as like Spanish soccer hair. But in the mid 2000s, it was, new and unique. And so they were referring to it as a mohawk, even though it wasn't.
Right.
And so it was a portmanteau of mohawk and caca. So essentially, they were calling him a shithead by using a portmanteau of the two words.
Nope.
Yeah, and
Which is still, that's still not great.
it's still not great.
It's a long trip to
Mhm.
get nowhere in
Right.
terms of your explanation, which is how we all know that it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But
And so it was the campaign manager that was mainly pushing this idea that was then deep sixed by Allen 4 days later when he said he came up with the name himself and that it had nothing to do with Mohawk or Kaka. It was just a name he came up with to call this one person of color a slur in the audience.
oh, brilliant! Someone handed him a shovel.
So Salon started looking into it, and they found a bunch of college football teammates that Allen had during the 70s, and they all said it was very common for Allen to just throw slurs around like it was nothing. He did not like Latinos. He did not like black people. He was just Virginian and racist. So to try to staunch the proverbial bleeding of this, because Allen was going into this with a huge lead, and it just tanked his campaign after this all came out, he decides he's going to say that he's against the Confederate flag because it's racist, which caused an immediate condemnation from the sons of Confederate veterans who were probably very excited about this slur that he randomly did.
Right. He's doing for himself what Jim Webb did for him by showing Reagan saying something nice about him for all the like blue blood Democrats in the DC metro area, being like, fuck, come on.
I want one. I want like a little.
I just wanted to vote for a Democrat for once.
You mean the other guy wants free college? Fuck, it's 2006. That sounds amazing. That's like promising space cookies. So, in the end, it was this unforced slur against S.R. Siddharth that doomed Allen's campaign, and he would lose to Jim Webb by 9,300 votes.
Wow.
So, fun note, Jim Webb almost started his political career with, I guess you could call treasonous assault. So on the day you get sworn into Congress, there's the president shows up. You get to take pictures with the president. It's a whole thing. But since Jim Webb spent his entire campaign talking about how much he hated W and meant it, he did not get in line for pictures with W. And George W. Bush, being the cool collective jerk he is, walked over to Jim Webb to talk to him. W asked him, "Hey, how's your boy?" Jim Webb had a son who's in the Marines and is now fighting in the war on terror, which might be a reason that he doesn't like the war. Jim replies to Bush's question of, "I'd like him to get out of Iraq, Mr. President." Bush retorted, "That's not what I asked you. How's your boy?"
Good Lord.
Jim had two options before him, as he would say. He went with option one, which is to say, "That's between me and the boy, Mr. President," and walked away. Option two, which he said he was very close to doing, was just punching George W. Bush in the face.
That could have been great. I'm not gonna lie. Those were rough
at least
years.
Would have been a wonderful news cycle.
Yeah.
So in 2008, Webb and his son and W would meet at the Oval Office and got a picture together, burying the hatchet, just kind of moving on. Also in 2008, Jim Webb was the frontrunner to be Barack Obama's VP.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it was pretty much a done deal until Jim Webb said, "I don't want to be vice president. Take my name out of the running." And so he went with the second pick, Joe Biden.
Wow.
Another fun fact, just because we have time, Jim Webb actually ran for president in 2016. He was one of the randos aside from Clinton and Sanders who ran.
Yeah.
He ran as like a mega centrist. And I remember the moment his campaign pretty much ended because he was asked if during the war if he ever had an enemy that he was most proud of or like most respected.
Okay.
And he said the guy who threw a grenade at me. However, he's not around today to talk about it. And then he did this laugh and everyone in the room was just quiet. Like, yeah, you're going to lose the Lincoln Chafee, my dude. I'm sorry. Martin O'Malley is going to wipe the floor with you.
Don't try out your type 5 at the VA.
It's a bad time. So by 2012, Jim Webb had decided he was not going to be running for re-election because he did not like being in politics. A weird feeling to have if you're going to run for president in 2016, but I digress. So 2006 was still kind of on everyone's minds, especially since George Allen decided he was going to run again to try to get his seat back. despite the whole scandal of him being a racist. And he ends up winning the primary against a field of people who are somehow even bigger pieces of shit than Allen.
Incredible.
As for Democrats, once Webb said he wasn't running, former governor and future aw shucks dad joke Tim Kaine announced he was running, and the field completely cleared. There was no primary, no one ran against him.
Oof.
Yeah, so it's Tim Kaine and George Allen running for Senate. So this was the history that Matthew O'Leary, Anthony Roberts, and Hank had in mind when the 2012 race began. And when life gives you a bunch of Hank for Senate signs, you make Senate aid. On February 16th, Hank officially kicked off his campaign. According to the AMA, Matthew stated that, quote, they created press releases with the help of our cousin in Ohio, who is a PR specialist, and sent them out to about 30 or 40 organizations. He also released a campaign ad on YouTube, which we're going to watch right now.
Yeah.
America is the greatest land of all. A land where all people can live free, can learn, can work, and can rise up to unlimited opportunities for themselves and their families. We need a politician who embodies these ideals and will work to make sure America stays the greatest land of all. Vote Hank for U.S. Senate.
Oh,
I was waiting for that. It's like, that's how I know she's at Hank.
that was so cute.
It's a good ad. It is a good ad. It's cute. It's perfect. It's perfect for modern YouTube. I don't think it was good for like 2006 YouTube, but
yeah, YouTube had been a
2012
year
YouTube.
old.
I mean, 2012 YouTube.
Oh, 2012.
I've been fine for then. That was like when, Markiplier and PewDiePie and all those people were getting famous and making people look at YouTube. So they sent out press releases to all these orgs, and 11 days later, they finally got a bite from Fox 5 in DC. 2 days later, Hank went national due to a combination of a syndicated article from the Associated Press and an interview with NPR.
And also being an adorable, fluffy little boy.
He is the cutest little scruff. I love him. He looks wonderful. So shortly after, the Hank for Senate site crashed due to the internet hugging it to death.
Aww.
When asked about Hank's political leanings, Matthew said, quote, both Anthony and myself identify closest to the Democratic Party, but Hank is running as an independent. Hank is personally more of a Republican, and we know this because I carry him up to bed every night, and in the morning, he'll paw at anything nearby to wake up me and feed him. I would sometimes read before bed, so I had an assortment of books nearby, but Hank would always paw, scratch, destroy the liberal books. Just like most Democrats or Republicans out there, though, Hank is fed up with the party that closest matches his beliefs. So I throw this at you, Una. Are all cats Republicans?
Cats are monarchists. And
Yes. Correct answer, yes.
we're their serfs.
Yeah. Now, it all wouldn't be fun and games. The Huffington Post would be one of the first papers to note that Hank would have a pretty hard time getting on the ballot. The biggest hurdle is that if you're going to run for U.S. Senate, the law says you have to be at least 30 years old, and Hank is 9. But in cat years,
yeah,
he's 52.
which puts him right at the median.
Yeah, cat law. If you get a good cat lawyer, they can make the argument that he could have started running at 4.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew would say in an interview that the minimum age requirement was a hurdle, and yes, it's going to take a lot of work to get 10,000 signatures to actually get him on the ballot. But also, quote, we know Hank will not be allowed on the ballot because he doesn't have a social security number, and he's a cat. The plan was entirely that Hank would have to run as a write-in candidate. Huffington Post would ask what would happen if Hank won. Matthew said, quote, that's what the courts decide.
Yeah. Like, okay, let's cross that bridge when we get there.
I just ruined kayfabe by saying this is a cat. We're not playing here. This isn't gonna happen, thank you. But if you know a good cat lawyer. Still, this wouldn't be enough to keep the attack ads at bay. On March 2nd, 2 weeks after Hank announced he was running, a super PAC called Canines for a Feline Free Tomorrow released a vicious attack ad against sweet baby boy Hank. I'm gonna send it to you right now.
Hank wants your vote for Senate, but what do you really know about Hank? Hank has never released his birth certificate, his tax returns, and has never responded to allegations that he used catnip. He says he's gone to the vet, but there is no record of him serving in any military branch. Would Hank force females to undergo an ultrasound before being spayed? And should a Maine Coon really be running for Senate in Virginia? We need more facts and fewer fat cats in Washington.
That is incredible. And also, people have too much money in politics.
Yeah. So this was actually created by a sketch group called the Big Honkin'. I'm not sure if they're still going around, but it's really, really good. I personally think the real deep cut of a joke is having female cats have to have mammograms, or having to get sonogram, or oh my god, that thing where you look at a baby through a stomach.
Yeah, ultrasound. Having to get an ultrasound before they get spayed. It's just, that is a good joke that I can't laugh at. It's objectively very fucking funny and horrific. So the campaign would go quiet while Matthew Anthony and Hank fielded interviews from across the country. On April 3rd, Hank kicked off his campaign blog on hankforsenate.com with his first post. In this, he talked about his first platform issue, which was campaign finance reform. In a pair of posts, he noted that between Tim Kaine and George Allen, they had raised $3.6 million. The candidates would run a lot of ads with that money, but Hank said what they should do is donate half of their money directly to nonprofits that support their platform beliefs. So since Tim Kaine was big on civil rights, he should donate half of his money to Virginia organizing. And since George Allen was big on veterans benefits, he should donate to the Paralyzed Veterans of America. And Hank said he's actually doing twice that, because all of his money is going to be donated to the organization that saved his life, Animal Advocates. Neither Tim Kaine nor George Allen responded to this request. George Allen did respond to Hank on Twitter and wished him best of luck in his campaign. Tim Kaine just ignored it. Wow, Tim Kaine, you are not above this.
Right. Like, people are going to be making the funniest and kind of meanest jokes about you in 2016, so maybe fucking cool it down.
Yeah. Like, this is a chance to show that you're human.
Yeah, George Allen is out humaning you. That is fucked up. But the blog wouldn't just be for campaign business. It would also be a place for him to celebrate holidays. For example, he would wish everybody a happy Passover Seder. Quote, "Just had a wonderful Passover Seder with my friends David and Rebecca Silversmith in Fairfax. They were even kind enough to substitute the wine with cranberry juice, since grapes are toxic to kitties. Especially love the gefilte fish and brisket. Most people don't know this, but we cats don't have quite the same sense of taste as most humans. We can't detect sweets as well, but we make up for it by tasting complex amino acids. So savory meat dishes are especially savory for us."
This is so cute.
It's really fucking cute. And also, I want you to look at this fucking gentleman. Because this is him at the Seder, or at least photoshopped into a Seder. With the bow tie, and he's just like, it's a holiday, meow.
Oh, he's such a good little boy.
He is a gentleman. He is a multicultural gentleman, and I love it.
Little businessman with his bow tie.
I mean, no one should be able to rock a bow tie as well as that cat. Now, this is probably the best time for me to just come out and say it, because I've almost Freudian slipped it multiple times. Hank is a proto-jorts.
Yes.
So years before internet's favorite orange derp cat used his cuteness to talk politics and serious topics, Hank was out here making little blog posts to explain why Orthodox Easter is on a different date than unorthodox Easter. Talking about like Julian calendars and shit. He's talking about why straw man arguments are bad, and how to get Dominion Power of Virginia to purchase renewable energy certificates in your name. Yeah, it costs more, but it means you're leaving less of a carbon footprint. It's just cuteness. It's weaponized cuteness.
Did he call his blog the Scratching Post?
I should have. I'm pissed he didn't now. Now I don't like Hank.
Oh, no. He's doing his best.
So Hank would continue to call for campaign finance reform by noting that he would want to close a campaign loophole that allowed for presidential candidates to put off paying debts by simply suspending their campaigns rather than full-on ending them. Because if you just suspended your campaign, you don't really have to pay anything. Your bills aren't due at any point. He noted that this allowed 38 politicians to avoid paying debts for presidential campaigns that, at the time, were up to 16 years old. Also, on the same day, he said, "You need to feed us fish oil because it's really, really tasty and it's good for our coats. It's also good for dogs."
Oh.
Now, Anthony would take his place in the campaign, or I should say, for his dads, they both had different jobs in the campaign. Matthew was the campaign manager. His brother Sammy was sort of his political advisor who really didn't have a lot of interest in politics. The only picture of them both on the campaign tour is them in like the middle of a kiddie fight.
Incredible.
And Anthony would take his place in the campaign by creating posters for Hank that were parodies of past presidential ads. He would premiere a set of limited run posters based on the campaigns of Harry Truman and Millard Fillmore. Now, I'm going to send you the Harry Truman first.
Oh, it's so cute.
It's the second I saw that, I was mad I couldn't buy it anymore. And the Millard Fillmore one it's so clever. It's really fucking good.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a little woodcut with
yes,
with his face. And it,
like
yeah.
the old-timey lettering, Hank the
Right.
cat.
It looks so good. Like Anthony has a genuine skill at Photoshop. These are very, very, very good. And so these end up getting raffled off for the campaign, but since Hank's decided all of his money is going to Animal Allies, it's essentially a fundraiser for them by raffling off these.
Oh, it's a win-win.
Yeah. And this ended up kicking off a small online art movement of people making their own Hank posters.
Oh my gosh.
So first was muralist Kyle Mosher, I believe it's Mosher, who nowadays is mostly known for his murals of David Bowie, Mac Miller, and Tyler, the Creator. But before he made those, he made this sort of collage-ish mural of Hank.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
so good.
Like Hank himself is all of the newspaper articles that were about him. It's got his cute little bow tie. It's really fucking good. But this was followed by Russian artist Svetlana Petrova taking John Trumbull's famous painting Declaration of Independence and inserting not just Hank, but her own cat, Zarathustra, into the picture. I will send this to you now. Hank is the one holding John Adams's hand, and Zara is the one laying on the Declaration of Independence on the table.
That's a fat cat.
Yeah, Zara is a chonker.
Yeah.
Which is really fun because Svetlana Petrova's art site is fatcatart.ru. And Hank would say that he probably bribed her a little bit to do this artwork because he sent all of his cutest pictures to her.
Oh.
But the campaign was so happy with how this turned out that they commissioned her to make a bunch of fake $2 bills of Hank sitting on Thomas Jefferson's lap that the campaign then sold. But the money from that all went to an animal rescue org in Russia as chosen by Svetlana.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah. And finally, this would be bookended by a pair of posters that Anthony made, mimicking the two final campaigns. One of William Howard Taft, which I didn't even know you could make a parody poster of, but it might be one of my favorites because it's just so fucking stupid.
It's got like a Wes Anderson vibe to it, honestly. It's
it kind of does.
It's Hank's head and that imperceptible stare and his little tie, and then Hank with quotation marks around the word Hank.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember that Taft poster, but I imagine the Taft poster would more give off the feeling of like, I don't fucking know, Taft, I guess.
Yeah, Taft.
What are you gonna do?
Because we still haven't figured out print.
Debs is in prison. Vote Taft. But he also did one based on Bobby Kennedy's presidential run.
Hanky is my choice in 12.
Yeah, Hanky. I was not expecting Hanky. It's a killer poster, and once again, these were raffled off, so they are not available anywhere. But Hank, while being a sweet fluff, was on the verge of releasing his most intense ad yet, one that would cause people to wonder: has Hank gone negative?
Our representatives came to Congress with big plans. They'd cut $100 billion from the budget, reach across the aisle to repair the economy, and help reduce the strain on small businesses. What did we get? The brink of financial default, important legislation ignored and forgotten, a national credit downgrade for the first time ever, and the most unaccomplished Congress in history, playing ridiculous partisan games and contentious infighting while Americans suffered. They tried, you tried. It's okay to make a change. It's okay to vote the humans out. It's okay to elect Hank for Senate. Hank is an accomplished independent leader, and he fights for you, not a partisan agenda. Vote Hank for U.S. Senate.
I really love the 70s filter on Hank when he
Yeah.
shows up.
Mhm.
Um,
Very warm.
but also I'm watching that being like, a cat is never going to do fucking anything for anyone other than himself.
It's some
Get
really
out of
good.
here
It's
with
some
this.
psyop bullshit to act
Yeah.
like this is gonna happen.
I
But-
might as well vote Republican. Come on now.
But yeah, vote the humans out is very a huge thing. And on his blog, he addressed whether or not he felt this was negative. I would say, quote, "We all wanted to make it very clear that it is in no way meant to be seen as a slight or an attack on the entire human species." However,
Hashtag not all humans.
a lot of humans, but not all of them. Humans have had almost 250 years of political monopoly in this country. It is clear that we are due for a change, and this is the message I am conveying.
All right, Animal Farm. Chill out.
It's a bold move. But Hank had one more big move to make before Election Day. On October 9th, he would premiere his Animal Rescue Pledge. And the pledge was fairly simple. 1. Match the donations from Hank's campaign to animal rescue groups in Virginia by January 1st, 2013. And to date, Hank had raised $15,000. And 2. Support legislation, whether through public office or as a private citizen, that will provide welfare and protection for the animals in Virginia and abroad. This pledge was sent both to Tim Kaine and George Allen, but neither would respond.
Wow.
But it wasn't a complete failure. In the far-off land of Halifax, Canada, a mayoral candidate would hear of the pledge and happily sign it. The candidate was a black and white tuxedo cat named Tuxedo Stan.
Oh, the little tuxedo.
Not only was he running for mayor of Halifax, but he had also founded the Tuxedo Party of Canada alongside his mom, Linda Felix. He had begun the project to bring awareness to the growing feral cat population in Canada. And while Sam would not win his race, the Tuxedo Party succeeded in pushing Halifax officials into granting $40,000 to the local SPCA to create a low-cost spay and neuter program, to donate another $250,000 towards a feral cat program, and the city converted all local shelters into non-kill shelters.
Oh,
It was-
this is so sweet.
I'm also just going to send you a picture of Sam because he's just a little
Because
guy.
I need it. I
He's
need
just
it.
a guy.
Oh, oh, that sweet little floof.
He's just upside down, like, "Hey, yo, this is my party. Hello."
Hello, I'm just a little derpy.
He also ran the party with his brother Earl Grey, who was a
Oh
great
my
cat.
god.
But this wouldn't be end because Hank and Sam would also form NAFTA, or North American Felines to Action.
Yes. Keep the joke going.
Just phenomenal. Oh, Hank also got his one endorsement from Homer the Blind Cat, whose owner had written a book that year called Homer's Odyssey about raising a blind cat.
Oh.
Yeah. So finally, Hank would release the final plank of his platform 2 weeks before Election Day. He wants to get rid of the Electoral College. Hank also doesn't support the spoiler candidate theory, or as I didn't know it was actually called and had to learn from a cat, Duverger's Law.
Huh.
Yeah, it has a name.
Huh.
I learned from a fucking cat. God damn it. It's a long quote from Hank on why he doesn't support the spoiler theory or Duverger's Law, but I'm gonna read it. The real majority of our country holds beliefs that don't completely align with each party, but they're afraid that if they don't vote for the party closest to their beliefs, the party they really disagree with will win and wreak untold havoc. Duverger's Law thrives with negative campaigning, telling us that we are constantly on the edge of a cliff and only have one chance or choice to not go falling off. With this design, party candidates have no concern about third-party candidates, ideals, advertisements, etc. Because even if a third-party candidate is elected to the House or Senate, they'll be forced to work with one or both parties if they want to have any chance of being productive. That being said, there's a silver lining. When we have close races, like the one here in Virginia, and each candidate sees the ever-growing support for a third-party candidate such as myself, they are forced to consider these people's ideas and desires. The bigger our numbers come Election Day, the harder each candidate will look at our group, and especially the harder they'll have to listen if they lose the contest by a number smaller than our totals. This is where true democracy thrives in our country today, but it is our one chance to have our voices heard over the increasing negative static coming out of both majority parties. A vote for me is not a waste. It is, in fact, the only way to be heard. This is said by a cat.
Truly proto
Canonically, this is written by a cat.
Yeah.
I mean, we have differing opinions on this, but I I think it's very well written, especially
Yeah.
for the time before we get into like, fascism or putting off
Yes.
fascism,
Yeah. No, Hank did right by this.
Yeah. Hank's running as a true third party candidate, which I don't doubt that Matthew O'Leary and Anthony Roberts are liberal Democrats. So for them to recognize this and to say it, fucking good on them. On election day, Matthew, Anthony, and Hank took to their local polling locations to drum up last minute votes for Hank. Most people were very amused by what they were told and did not know what was happening. But some people actually did vote for Hank, but not enough. Hank got trounced by Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine would end up winning by a close 5%. But how many votes did Hank get?
Yeah.
The answer is no one really knows.
What?
Because in the state of Virginia, they count the number of write-in votes that happened, but don't break that down by the names on the write-in votes.
Oh, well, I guess probably because they'd have to start itemizing things, and then you have like one person who wrote Mickey Mouse, but
100%.
incorrectly. And yeah,
it's why in so many places you have to actually file to be a write-in candidate for your votes to be counted. And, it's understandable why they don't. So the total of write-in votes was a little over 6,500 votes. Matthew and Anthony, being the good campaign managers they are, would claim that 6,000 of those votes were for Hank and proudly spread the word that Hank the cat had finished third.
Sure, why not? Let him have it.
Well, it became the common folklore in Virginia as to what happened. However, being the dweebs they fucking are, the Washington Post looked into it like a goddamn bunch of nerds. Give the Washington Post a fucking wedgie. So, like a bunch of narcs, they went to fucking Springfield and started asking around to figure out how many votes did Hank actually get. And they were able to find 35 people who said they wrote in Hank for Senate. Compared to the 54,000 votes cast in his home district, they estimated Hank got 0.0006% of the votes. So if this was applied to statewide totals, which they said is a very optimistic thing to do, considering, taking someone's home district and applying it to the whole state, that meant that Hank would have got at most 2,000 votes. To which I say, boo, hiss boo.
Then just let him have the 6,000. What does it matter?
Well, that's what everyone did. Everyone just decided the folklore is he got 6,000 votes. The Washington Post could fucking shove it.
Yeah.
Democracy dies in darkness, but so do you in the darkness of a locker I just shoved you in.
Like, I get that the New York Times is doing nothing credible in terms
the Washington
of
Post,
resourcing.
but...
No. But that the New York Times is bad. But that doesn't mean you need to show them up by really digging down into the factual numbers of Hank the cat running for Senate.
Actually, the cute cat lost by more votes than you think. Shut the fuck up.
Shoves in locker.
The election also led to one of the most unhinged opinion articles I've ever goddamn read. Now, this is the thing I was wanting to get an actor to read, but due to the fact that SAG is on strike, I really didn't know what the appropriate thing to do was. So I'm just going to read it myself. So this is an article written for the Richmond Times-Dispatch by conservative journalist and never-Trumper Jim Swift. The article is entitled, "Who Are These Lunatics?"
Oh no. Old man yells at cloud.
Yes, that's the tone. 6,000 or so of my fellow Virginians voted for a doggone cat. Who are these lunatics?
Doggone? Sir, that is
Doggone. Slander. One word, doggone.
We're talking about a cat here.
For the record, I love cats. My family adopted our cat, Midnight.
Some of my best friends are cats.
Yes, thank you. My family adopted our cat, Midnight, from a friendly, left-leaning family that belonged to my parish. Hank the Cat's fake bid for office started out as a charity gag, seeking to raise money for animal rescue groups. It turned into a pseudo-intellectual liberal bric-a-brac of a campaign garbage. In the end, it raised a measly $16,000 for such groups. Ultimately... Sorry, go on.
That's 16,000 these non-profits didn't have before.
Yeah, but is it worth killing democracy, Una?
Oh my God.
Ultimately, it did more damage to democracy. That's a quote. I'm reading it. Hank turned from a nice cat that wanted to do nice things for orphans and abused animals to an ultra-left meowist kitty suggesting absurdly that Tim Kaine and George Allen donate half of their campaign donations to charities that align with their views. Stay out of our business, Hank.
I'm so mad this wasn't written by David Cross under an assumed it was that it didn't just it wasn't clearly just keeping the joke going.
This really does. Sorry, go on.
No, especially especially when that lead in like just sounded like every conditional string of words said before you hear the most tone deaf racist statement of your life.
Yeah. Hank channeled his inner Bernie Sanders and promised to remove super PACs from campaigns while simultaneously promising to protect free speech. Hank the cat? More like Hank the hypocrite. Hank also supported abolishing the Electoral College. What's more, Hank railed on restrictive voter ID laws, despite obviously supporting intrusive pet adoption policies that could take hours or days to complete. Parentheses, the Animal Welfare League of Arlington restrictively requires some sort of ID to adopt.
What? Yeah, because you might be a sociopath. Like,
yeah. And we don't require an ID to vote because you've already registered, you dum-dum. You don't pre-register to adopt a pet, you fucking dweeb.
Yeah, you get drunk and realize there's something missing in your life.
A pandemic happens and you realize loneliness is just a day away.
Yeah.
So it's around this part I started to wonder, is Jim Swift like a Dave Barry sort? You know?
Right, because it's so cranky.
I looked it up. No, he's this cranky always. He's currently a writer for The Bulwark, which is an anti-Trump conservative website. He's very much in the vein of like a Matty Iglesias or a Bari Weiss. It's like, it hurts that he was serious with this fucking thing. And you know what, Jim Swift, I'm sure one day you might hear this and you'll be like, I was joking. I will say this, if it's a joke, make it funny.
Yeah.
Step one to joke, be funny. Anyway.
Try.
It keeps going.
Oh my God.
Hank also did not weigh in on the horrible Virginia law that requires all shelter animals to be spayed or neutered, which he did. So I presume he supports it. Talk about animal eugenics. Sandra Fluke has nothing on you.
My God.
You know who supported eugenics, Hank? Hitler. That's who.
Wait, that's a real quote? You're reading that?
Yep. Quote, you know who supported eugenics, Hank the cat? Hitler. That's who.
How is this not performance art?
I had to check again when I read that because no one brings up Hitler in this. No one Godwin laws their own fucking article. This faux campaign makes a joke out of our electoral system. Not that Hank changed the election, but he did show that we have 6,000 nincompoops in Virginia. But maybe I'm being too harsh on Hank. Did he make a mockery of our system? Yes. Then again, look at the people we actually elected. Either way, bad kitty, bad.
It's articles like this that pain me that I'm not being paid to write.
Right. This man has a journalism career. And
yes.
He wrote that and his boss didn't walk up to him and say, Jim, I'm sorry, man. We got to banish you from journalism.
You need to take
word for the rest of your life. If you can find Lotus, sure, but fuck.
Listen, good news is it's paid leave. Bad news is it's 6 weeks leave and you need to go to HR immediately.
I was thinking about this week in a more serious tone of just like, why are people like Vivek Ramaswamy and Donald Trump, succeeding despite the shit they're saying? And it's like, you hear the things like, oh, people used to have shame. And it's like, no, people used to realize they had to be performative about shame, whether they felt it or not. And for some reason, I feel the same thing with this. Like, if you're comparing a cat to Hitler, you should have the shame to leave and never come back. Just walk into the ocean with your typewriter and just let us all move on.
Yeah, it's like, right. We didn't lose shame. We seem to have lost a lot more self-awareness.
Yeah. Virginia Woolf walked into the ocean for far less reasons than this. Like, fuck you, dude. Now that we're done with that, after the election, it was floated that Hank might run for office again. 2013, Virginia was going to be voting for a governor, and 2016 was the presidential race. So fuck it, he might just run for those.
Hank.
But ultimately, Hank decided to retire from politics.
Yeah.
Also, tragedy would strike in 2014. Hank started refusing food for a while, so Matthew and Anthony took him into the vet, and it was found that he had stomach lymphoma.
Baby.
So he would pass shortly after the diagnosis. In his last interview with a website called Catster, Hank would state that he ran for Senate because he, quote, decided he wanted to show the world that a politician can be eloquent, intelligent, bring people from all political grounds together, and look handsome in a bow tie, and most importantly, be genuine. By breaking the milk ceiling, I hope that other cats, dogs, and other animals decide it's time to make a difference in their community and follow in my footsteps. Now, this would typically be where the story ends, but it gets a little cuter. So at the time, Matthew O'Leary was working, I believe, in web programming. And shortly after they adopted Hank, they started going to a local pet store called Felix and Oscar. And, they'd gone there pretty regularly. And Felix and Oscar is one of those pet stores. If you go in there, they'll recommend really good pet food, or the pet food that's best for your cat or dog, not just like throwing Alpo at you until you get the fuck out.
Right.
But during the campaign, they started holding fundraising events at Felix and Oscar, and it was the location where they'd raffle off these presidential posters. After the campaign was done, the owners of Felix and Oscar offered Matthew a job. It was, going to be clerking in the store, and definitely a pay cut compared to what he was doing. But he was so exhausted working in web programming that he immediately took it and started working at the store. In 2019, the original owners decided they were ready to retire, and they offered the store to Matthew and Anthony, which they accepted. And so to this day, Matthew and Anthony are running Felix and Oscar in the suburbs of DC and Virginia.
Gosh, that's so cute.
It's really, really adorable. It's
good for them.
And that's the story of Hank the cat, the kitty who ran for Senate and did much better than he really should have.
Dusty, we had a genuinely cute episode.
We did. We haven't had that. I was wanting to do that for the last animal candidate thing, and then someone cut off its balls in like part of the episode, and it went real dark. And it was like an alcoholic goat. So I'm really happy this one turned out. But yeah, we should have less restrictions on animals running for office. I think it can only at least, if you want to keep the status quo or keep things from getting worse.
Listen, I would love for a study that ignored causation versus correlation and just ran the numbers of how many towns that have a cat or a dog as mayor and what their crime statistics are like. Are they lower?
Pretty low.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, mostly because they're like tiny ass towns, but yeah.
So maybe more cities.
Yeah.
QED should have a cat or a dog as a mayor.
Oh my God. You know what? I think we have plans for the next Chicago election. I mean, I like Brandon Johnson so far.
Where else are we going to go? We're going to have to get more progressive now that we've had a taste for it.
That's true. Oh man, we need to call the Pirate Party immediately to get in on this.
Yeah, it can't be a goat because of the whole Cubs fiasco.
True. Yeah, no one in Chicago is going to vote for a goat. Yeah, we'll have to think about this one to figure out.
Yeah, there's that feral cat, that semi-feral cat in Rogers Park who's now like semi-alder cat.
I think I know the perfect candidate. They're feral, they're everywhere, and they freak out NIMBYs like crazy. Una, we got to run a coyote.
Oh, my sweet babies. I hear them every night. Yes.
Yeah, we got to run a trickster dog for me. Oh man. Well, all right. So we got to go to a cemetery. We'll find the least feral coyote we can and just go Loki on the city. And I don't know what year's the next one? 2025. Yeah.
Oh, we're all going to be dead by then.
True. Well, even more reason to get on the good side of the coyotes.
Yes.
And on that note, thank you all for joining us this week, and we'll see you next time here on Gadfly.
Meow, 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 meow.
God damn it. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?